Welcome to the Kingdom in Seattle, Washington, where tonight we close out Week 13 of the NFL's regular schedule. Tonight, the Buffalo Bills and the Seattle Seahawks with a sellout crowd anticipated. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford. We're happy you're with us as we watch the Buffalo Bills try to go 2 games up on the Miami Dolphins in the AFC East. A decidedly different story for the Seattle Seahawks, winners of the Western Division of the AFC a year ago. They are 4-8, and they are out of it. The Bills, of course, have to be figured the favorite, but they've had a tough time winning on the road over the last 9 weeks. They are 6-3. They won 6 at home. They lost 3 on the road. Now, they had this problem a year ago at the end of the season. They lost 3 of the last 4 on the road. They lost the home field advantage, and they wound up losing to Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game at Cincinnati. Now, they close out this season the same way. They have 3 of their last 4 games on the road, and Al, I would think that Marv Levy hopes they do not have the same scenario as they had a year ago, because they figured that it really cost him a shot at the Super Bowl.
He doesn't want that scenario, and he doesn't want a scenario he has now seen twice in the last 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago, they went into Atlanta, figured to beat the stumbling and bumbling Falcons, and the next thing you know, they went home with a loss, 30-28. 2 weeks ago, they went to Foxborough, where the Patriots were stumbling, and they went home with a loss again. So Marv Levy doesn't want to see a repeat, and as Frank said, he doesn't want to see a repeat of last year. He would love to see this team get hot and finish with a flourish in December, and of course remain hot through the playoffs. They are coming off their best outing of the season last week's dominating 24-7 victory over Cincinnati. They accomplished that without Cornelius Bennett, and they'll have to do it tonight against Seattle without Cornelius Bennett. He has a knee injury. He is inactive. So Dan, Buffalo, of course, thinks playoffs. Seattle not thinking playoffs. They're thinking survival right now. What's the state of this team at the moment?
Well, I guess if you're a Seahawks fan, Al, the number one thing you're here tonight watching for is to see if Steve Largent can make his 100th touchdown reception and become the all-time leader in NFL history. That's goal number one. Secondly, though, I think is the future of Chuck Knox. Chuck Knox has been a coach in the National Football League, a head coach for 17 years. He fully expects to be back here next year. He told us this morning, I've got 2 years left on my contract. I expect to honor it. He has received a vote of confidence from his owner, from his general manager. And I said to Chuck Knox, I said, hey, Coach, are you burned out? He said, no, I'm not burned out, but I'm plenty burned up.
And he has been very often in the last month in particular, and especially so last week when they were destroyed by Denver, 41-14 in a game the Broncos led at halftime 38-0. And so it's Knox with Largent very much in the spotlight tonight, and 4 games remaining in his illustrious career. And back they go with Dave Craig, who had started the first 10 games of the season at quarterback. They had gone with Kelly Stoffer the last 2 weeks, and he is probably their quarterback of the future. But right now, Knox thinking about the present, trying to close out the year with some victories. And Seattle will get the ball as we begin the final game of Week 13. Scott Norwood, who last week became the all-time leading scorer in Buffalo Bills history, eclipsing O.J. Simpson's mark. He'll be kicking off. Kevin Harmon and David Hollis are back deep. Harmon is number 34, and he is the brother of the Bills' Ronnie Harmon, who plays a lot in third down situations. And the younger brothers of Derek Harmon, the former San Francisco 49er running back. So from Seattle, here we go as Norwood puts it in the air. And it's fielded at the 10-yard line by David Hollis. And the former UNLV star brings it out to the 31-yard line. And already a skirmish. Jamie Mueller involved in it with the Buffalo Bills.
Al, that leads us right to what Chuck Knox told us about how he wants his team to play Buffalo hard. He thinks that Buffalo might hold a physical advantage over his club as being bigger and stronger, and he wants his Seahawks to play a little in-your-face football tonight.
The Seahawks, once again, it's Dave Craig, 15 touchdowns, but 16 interceptions, leading them up to the 31-yard line. John L. Williams and Kurt Warner get the start in the backfield, and Craig will go right to the air, and he drops it off underneath for Warner, who makes a nice move to elude one tackler and takes it to the 44-yard line. And we'll take a look at that Seattle offense. John L. Williams has been banged up. Derek Fenner started last week along with Warner in the backfield. And right now it's Warner and Williams, Brian Blades, and of course Largent, the wide receivers. Travis McNeil, a rookie tight end. Andy Heck was their #1 draft choice. But the offensive line very inconsistent, and the Seahawks have had a very difficult time getting a running game going. 13-yard pickup, first down at the 44-yard line. And this is Williams with a nice slip move, and he takes it into Buffalo territory. And they've got a running game going at the outset tonight as he takes it to the 43-yard line. Bentley and Kelso in on the tackle. Last year, Buffalo's defense was dominant, not as good this year. And we'll take a look at their front three. Still Smirlis and the great one, Bruce Smith, number 78. Again, Bennett is out. Radisic takes his place. Conlon back after an injury. Bentley and Talley, the other linebackers. And the secondary, Burrows will have to retire. It's Jackson and Odoms at the corners. Smith and Kelso the safeties. Derek Burrows hurt in game 3 this year. Spinal injury. And the Bills suggesting he retires at the end of the year, officially. At the 42-yard line, first down for Seattle. As Craig hits Largent at the 20-yard line for another first down. Tackled by Kirby Jackson, and the Seahawks come out smoking.
And Frank, they don't waste any time getting Steve Largent catch #1. The streak continues.
Such precise routes. He's working against Kirby Jackson, takes it down. Little move like he might take it upfield. Jackson bought it. He breaks inside, and working with Steve Largent, Dave Craig, they have been together so long. It's a little bit different than it was Kelly Stopper over the past week at Denver and the week before that. Totally different. They just work so well together.
174 consecutive games in which Largent has caught a pass. A first down at the 18-yard line, and Kurt Warner takes it to the 15 for a gain of about 3. Bruce Smith in on the tackle. It'll be second down and 7.
It's just mind-boggling to realize that that was the 811th reception for Steve Largent. And of course, we've told you he needs that 1 touchdown pass. They don't mind going to him deep down in this area, and I think they'd probably like to get rid of this.
Well, and it's no given that he's going to get a touchdown reception in these final 4 games. It's not that uncommon to go 4 games without a touchdown catch.
Second and 7 from the 15. Opening drive of the game. And John L. Williams tries to get a block from Warner, and then barrels through down to the 12-yard line. He is stopped by Scott Radisic about 3 yards short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 3. Again, Radisic, who filled in so capably for Marv Levy when Shane Conlon was hurt, now spelling Cornelius Bennett. And on 3rd and 3, with the 4 wide receiver set coming in for Seattle, Radisic comes out. The extra defensive backs come in. 3rd and 3 at the 12. John Hagee and Mickey Sutton into the secondary for Buffalo. And Craig floats it into the end zone, and too far, intended for Lewis Clark, who was covered very well by Mickey Sutton. And in comes the field goal unit. Sutton, the former Ram, started this season with the Packers and winds up in Buffalo. And Craig, after a most auspicious beginning on that drive, shakes his head as he comes off, and Norm Johnson comes in.
But a good drive for Seattle. Get a little confidence that they can move the ball. They did move the ball with Williams on the ground, and I know they wanted to come in moving the ball on the ground to try and offset a little bit of the pass rush of Buffalo, and they could do that.
Steve Largent to hold. It's a 29-yard attempt for Norm Johnson. And the opening drive pays off with a field goal. So Seattle gets 3 on a 3-minute and 56-second opening drive at the Kingdome. At the Kingdome in Seattle, the Seahawks on top 3-0, and Norm Johnson to kick off. And the average start for the opposition after Johnson has kicked off has been the 20-yard line, as you saw, second best in the National Football League. So he normally boots them deep. Harmon and Beebe are back to receive. And it is a typical Johnson kick. Deep enough to be down in the end zone by Beebe. And we'll take a look at Jim Kelly. And the Buffalo offense, as they commence drive number 1 at the 20-yard line. Kelly having probably his best season. He started in the USFL with Houston, then to Buffalo. Thurman Thomas and Larry Kennebrew, a formidable running tandem. James Lawson, of course, started the season with the Raiders, was waived, picked up by Buffalo, along with Reed, the wideouts, and the offensive line, the veteran offensive line. And they begin with a double tight end set, Keith McKellar and Pete Metzelaars, with McKellar starting in motion, and now the two flip-flopping from the 20-yard line. Kennebrew sets up on a wing, and Thurman Thomas cuts inside Kennebrew's block and takes it out to the 24-yard line, where Jeff Bryant makes the tackle. Defensively for Seattle, 26 years of experience up front. Green in his 10th season, Nash and Bryant each in their 8th. Brian Bosworth on injured reserve with a shoulder problem. So there's the foursome, the quartet of linebackers for the Seahawks. Harper and Hunter are the corners. Glasgow and Robinson are the safeties. The Seahawks have been particularly vulnerable to the run, and that has been Buffalo's primary strength of late. 2nd and 6, and through the middle goes Kennebrew, the one-time Bengal who sat out last year after a contract dispute and now has a second life. M.L. Johnson makes the tackle.
You touched on the running of Buffalo. They are 2nd in the NFL, whereas Seattle is 25th against the rush. Both teams coming in here tonight trying to run the football. However, Buffalo much more capable of doing just that. Thurman Thomas having a great season, over 1,000 yards last week.
And a great receiver as well, 47 catches. Harmon and Beebe come in out of the shotgun, 3rd and 3. Kingdome gets noisy, and Kelly has it batted back and incomplete, and knocking it down at the line of scrimmage. Joe Nash and Jeff Bryant both there, and we also have a penalty.
I think
ball start, 68, offense.
it's actually 69. Will Wolford, the left tackle, rolls out of his stance early. There's Wolford, and that may be attributed to the crowd noise. The offensive tackle is the guy in the formation that's pretty well removed from the quarterback. It's awful difficult to hear the signal, and Wolford, no question, rolls out early. He's to the right side of your screen, and a classic head start, and you just have to attribute that to not hearing the quarterback clearly.
A false start negates the play, of course. There was no play, so it's 3rd and 8 from the 22. Kelly protected well, and the pass is incomplete, leading Reed a bit too much. And the Bills are forced to kick. Andre Reed, one more catch, will tie him with Elbert Dubinian for the all-time Buffalo receiving record. And, of course, a second catch gives him the mark alone. In the kick, John Kidd in his 6th season out of Northwestern. And David Hollis back to receive at the Seahawk 30-yard line. Rush was on, but he gets it away. It bounces at the 40-yard line, and Hollis lets it bounce out of bounds at the 37. And so the Seahawks begin their next drive at that spot with 9 minutes and 13 seconds to play in the opening quarter at the Kingdome in Seattle.
On the Los Angeles Rams. Oh, the Reddit Rams are here on Monday night. Next week on ABC Sports.
Well, there it is with Seattle having the ball. Steve Largent last week, touchdown catch number 99, tying Don Hudson for that mark. You saw the other names in the top 5, and there he is. Split out to the right on 1st and 10 and sent in motion from the 37-yard line as Dave Craig retreats under some heat and then slings the ball to the 50-yard line, caught by Travis McNeil. And the tight end ambling inside the 30, the 20, to the 16-yard line.
Hello. What a play by Dave Craig, sensing Bruce Smith coming from the backside, stepping up and then delivering the ball off balance. Bruce Smith, I'm sure, thought he had a sack. Seattle, which hasn't had a play over 32 yards long all season, gets their longest play of the year. That's a Bernie Kosar toss, Frank.
And then watch McNeil rumble 6'3", 248-pound rookie.
48-yard pickup to the tight end, his 4th catch of the season. 1st and 10, Seattle at the 15-yard line, and here's John L. Williams taking it to the 13 for a gain of a couple. Stopped by Shane Conlon.
And I think right about now is when it's beginning to dawn on Marv Levy and the Buffalo Bills that they may have a game on their hands.
Well, Dan mentioning the longest play of the season had been 32 yards. No team has ever gone through a season without a pass play of 40-plus yards. And Seattle goes to week 13 before they pull one off. 2nd and 8 from the 13-yard line. That's Largent in the slot to the right. Craig looking to the right. Throwing to the corner and off the fingertips of Scansey. He was covered by Nate Odoms. It'll be 3rd and 8.
Give an assist to Kirby Jackson, the cornerback of Buffalo. Craig wanted to go to Largent. Jackson with outside coverage, help on the inside, and he was able to take away Largent, and so Craig tried to go back to Scansey. Here's Largent, 47, Kirby Jackson, and he runs right into Jackson, playing it just super to the outside. He had a little help on the inside so he could stay to the outside.
That's about as slick as a tandem you'll see, the way Odoms and Jackson switched receivers in the secondary. That's as good as it gets.
3rd and 8 with both Largent and Blades wide to the right. Craig out of the shotgun. And looking left and wide open is Scansey. And Scansey still on his feet. A flag goes down and he's out of bounds inside the 5.
I would assume that's a face mask penalty. Leonard Smith, number 46. And that really you can't blame on Leonard Smith. He's coming in to make the tackle, and Scansey kind of ducks his head.
Smith, I'm sure, felt it was the only way he could save the touchdown.
We're tagging on halfway to the goal line.
Watch Scansey.
There it is. It comes up underneath, and he can't hardly help it.
Ooh, that's not a face mask. He really never grabbed hold of the face mask. Then finally, Mickey Sutton comes in and saves the touchdown. But boy, Leonard Smith, granted he got the hand up alongside the helmet, but he never actually grabbed the face mask.
He hit him so hard in the helmet, it looked as the head popped back that it caught that hand in the face mask.
Well, that's nothing new. Leonard Smith hitting someone hard.
1st and goal at the 1. Warner and Williams are the setback. And it's Kurt Warner. And he can only get to the line of scrimmage and maybe a couple of inches beyond Shane Conlon. And when we saw Conlon in week 2 being taken off the field with that knee injury at Buffalo in the Denver game, we figured that was it for the season.
Well, he missed 6 weeks, and I don't think I've ever seen anything. Well, I have seen other things happen in pro football. That was sickening that night. You just knew he was never going to play again, much less come back this season. And he's back. Marv Levy, the coach, says he's back at full strength now. And if any evidence was last week, he came up with 7 tackles, a block pass, and an interception, so he is back.
Out of the eye, 3 tight end set, 2nd and goal. And Warner looking for a seam in the middle. And touchdown, Kurt Warner.
Well, Dan, if Marv Levy and the Bills didn't know a short while ago, they know now.
Marv is thinking to himself, I'm sure, didn't I see this in Atlanta and Foxborough recently?
Well, we talked to Marv last evening. What's the first thing he told us? How all week long he's been trying to sell his ball club on how we stumbled earlier this season against teams we probably should have beaten. And well, they're off to about as bad a start as a team could get off to. And look at the second effort there by Kurt Warner. Hit by a couple of Bills. They say it was in. We'll have to take their word for it. He was under there somewhere, but that was as fine an effort as Kurt Warner can give.
Steve Largent has trouble with the snap. It was a low snap, and Steve Largent scores the extra point. How great is that? The 2nd time in his career he has done just that.
Great presence, too.
And you don't mean Christmas.
No. He knew he could never get that ball. It snapped a little low, and the way he handled it, he knew right away that he could never get it up. In time for the conversion, you'll see it again. The ball just a little low. He short hops it, but he knows right there, I got to get out of here.
Well, he knows where the end zone is, that's for sure.
Yeah, Grant Fiesel, the snapper, clearly delivered it low, and it was very good work by Largent, just handling the ball, getting it up to the point where Johnson could kick it if he wouldn't have already passed it. But as you mentioned, that's just fine presence of mind.
And another reason they have the sure-handed types handling the ball. As a holder, there it is.
You know, that's also a smart play by Johnson, finding himself in that situation and not going ahead and making some half attempt at trying to kick it. If he knocks that ball out of Largent's hands, it's got no chance of going through the uprights.
Yeah, he was the one who really had the presence. He just didn't even go through with it. Largent, reading that from Johnson, takes it off into the end zone. Get the feeling that things might go right for Seattle tonight. They certainly have so far.
Well, Steve Largent has been in the end zone 99 times as a receiver, twice running the ball in his career, and twice on extra points. As Johnson puts it in the air, it bounces at the 2 and bounces into the end zone, and Harmon will run it out, and they'll take it at the 20. One time in his career, Largent rushed for a touchdown once. 99, of course, receptions, tying Hudson for that honor, and now the second time he's done it on an extra point. Seattle on top. There it is, 602 points.
Wonder what we'd be talking about if in 1976 Houston had not decided to trade their 4th-round draft pick to Seattle for an 8th-round draft pick. That draft pick, of course, Steve Largent.
Buffalo begins at the 20-yard line, 1st and 10. 6:49 to go in the quarter. Thomas to the outside, tries to cut it back and gets wrapped up by the Seattle defense led by M.L. Johnson. And what a difference a week makes. Last week, Seattle played a horrible first half, trailed 39-38 to nothing at intermission in Denver, and tonight on top 10-0. Second and 9 at the 21. James Lofton wide to the left. That's Thomas split out to the right along with Reed. Kinnebrew stays in the block, and the catch is not made by Reed at the 29-yard line. It's incomplete. He never had control. Nesby Glasgow in on the coverage.
Boy, and that's the tackle by Glasgow that pulls Reed away from the ball. Now, Reed should have caught it. It's an excellent pass right there, right in the hands. But watch how Glasgow pulls him away as he's trying to pull it in towards his body. Ball just a little bit behind, but very catchable for a receiver as gifted as Andre Reed.
4 wideouts on 3rd and 9 from the 21. 4-man rush. Kelly under pressure and incomplete. Under a furious rush that time. Jeff Bryant and Jacob Green leading the charge.
He tried to get it back out to Reed. Reed was open, but Kelly had to deliver the ball long before he wanted to. Let's pick up the rush again.
It's going to come in from the right side of your screen. Here comes Jeff Bryant right around the corner. They call that a twist up front. Defensive end loops back to the inside, and Bryant comes up untouched, and for his efforts is more than happy to put that helmet right in the sternum of Jim Kelly.
John Kidd, his second kick is a beauty. Hollis at the 28-yard line. Gets a block and is finally run out of bounds at the 40-yard line. A 51-yard kick and a 12-yard run back. It was Jeff Wright who threw the block, springing them. And out of the 40, they'll begin this drive with 5:47 to go in the opening quarter. And the opening quarter has belonged to the Seahawks, trying to bounce back. They lead by 10. Seattle on top 10-0. Took the opening kickoff, drove for a field goal.
Buffalo's really moving the ball, aren't they? 8 yards.
1st and 10, Seattle from the 40-yard line, and Craig is going to air it out for Largent, but too deep, and it is picked off by Nate Odoms, and he steps out of bounds at the 33-yard line. The play is over, but Buffalo gets it back on one play.
And that is a horrible pass.
He just locked into him, Dan, and Odoms was on the outside. Kelso was on the inside. Largent took it upfield, broke it to the outside, and broke right into Odoms and had to break under him, and Craig threw it where he thought he was going to be, and he hits Odoms right in the hands.
Well, he just overthrows Steve Largent rather by a good 4 yards, and and Largent was actually about 6 or 7 yards back behind and put together a tremendous effort just to get close enough to force the out of bounds.
Odoms last year had just 1 interception. He had 3 in the first 2 games this year, and that's his first since Monday night, the 18th of September, as Kelly's pass intended for Lofton is well overthrown, and it's 2nd and 10. A reminder that next week, week 14, a beauty from Anaheim, where the 49ers go south to take on the Rams. San Francisco with a mark of 11-2 after yesterday's win over Atlanta, and the Rams are hot again. Started the season with 5 consecutive wins, then a 4-game losing streak, and now a 4-game winning streak next Monday. 2nd and 10 from the 24-yard line. The Big Bull Kinnebrew takes it out to the 28, where M.L. Johnson, the linebacker, makes the tackle. They list Kinnebrew at 256, and what are they saying, about 265, really?
Depends on what he had for lunch, but it's somewhere in the mid-260s for Brew, and he'll take it out on a front 7. I mean, it's not only what he gets on a particular play, but it's the wearing down process as the game goes on. It's a big help to Thurman Thomas.
3rd down and 6 from the 28-yard line. And they give it to Thomas on the ground, and he cuts it back, and he takes it out to the 35-yard line. He is pushed back, and his forward progress should net him the first down. Porter and Hollis in on the tackle, and let's see where they put it down.
Boy, it's going to be close.
It'll be a first down. They put it down at the 35.
Well, as we've watched him over the last 2 years, it seems he just gets better with the amount of time and the amount of work and the amount of carries that he gets. Here he is again. And as the season is growing on, Thomas is getting more calls each week. Young man carried the ball over 900 times at Oklahoma State, so he's used to it.
1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. Kelly over the middle. That's the tight end, Pete Metzelaars. Taking it at the 40, where he's tackled by Darren Como after a pickup of about 5. And M.L. Johnson also there on the play.
Metzelaars glad to be back here at the Kingdome. Originally drafted by the Seattle Seahawks and then was traded to Buffalo, so he's no stranger to these surroundings, and what a target he makes at 6'7". A good blocking tight end, which you have to be with the Buffalo running game, but Metzelaars also one of those guys with good soft hands.
That's Kelly's first completion. Jim is 1 out of 5 for that 6-yard gain, making it 2nd and 4 from the 41. Kelly pump faking twice and then sliding out to the 46-yard line, and it should be enough for a first down. Green and Woods in on the tackle.
That's where the slide is not necessarily a quarterback's great friend. Jim Kelly that time slid and got hit by 3 Seahawks simultaneously. I don't know that that worked out quite the way he'd planned, but nonetheless he does pick up the first down, and do not ever question that man's toughness. A leader by just the very definition of being a leader. He is a leader because he is.
He steps into the huddle and he owns it.
He does.
2:55 to play in the opening quarter. 10-0 Seattle on first down with McKellar in motion. It's Thurman Thomas taking it across the 50 and tackled at the 47 of Seattle by David Wyman after a pickup of about 7, and Keith McKellar, one of those tight ends, led the way.
Frank, we look at running backs all the time. I guess I can suffice to say there are life in them thar legs.
And Al touched on something else. Not only does he give you this, and he got a good block from Kinnebrew, but he is a good receiver. He came into tonight nearly 50 receptions and over 550 yards, and what an offensive machine he's been.
Yeah, I mean, if you project that out, you're looking at a guy that may end up with over 1,200 yards and maybe 60-plus receptions. That's a lot of talent.
2nd and 7. The up back Kinnebrew takes it to the 46-yard line, setting up a 3rd down and 2, and Wyman again in on the tackle. Dave in his 3rd year out of Stanford and having a good year.
Bills down 10-0, showing what they would like to do, and that is throw the safe pass, high percentage stuff, and get the running game going. They average 151 yards coming into tonight. That's what they'd like to see generated here tonight.
3 tight ends in here, 3rd and a short 2. Mueller and Kinnebrew. The two bruisers in the backfield, and it's Kennebrew to the outside and tackled by Eugene Robinson. The safety comes up to knock him down in the backfield.
If you are going to take a big man down like Kennebrew, who weighs about 260, and you weigh about 185, there's only one place to drop him. You could leap on his back and get a ride, but he'd get the first down, and he came in low. And down went Kennebrew, short of the first down. Good tackle by Eugene Robinson. Look once again.
But, Frank, if you're going to tackle Kennebrew, you'd like to get him going parallel to the line of scrimmage, and that's exactly the way that Robinson got him there. Kennebrew trying to get around the corner rather than attacking the line of scrimmage.
So the Bills get 2 first downs. This drive stalls, and Kidd's kick just does go into the end zone. Steve Tasker was down there to try to knock it down at the 1, but couldn't. And Seattle will take over at the 20 with 41 seconds remaining in the opening quarter.
Reactions of Robinson.
Better to get the big man going the other way. Beautiful tackle by Eugene Robinson.
Buffalo stumbling through the opening quarter here at Seattle, where the Seahawks lead it 10-0, have the ball at the 20-yard line. And Dave Craig leads them to the line, 1st and 10 from the 20. 41 seconds to play in the opening period. John L. Williams coming back from a knee injury. He missed last week's game at Denver and played sparingly the week before that against the Giants. Picks up 1. It'll be 2nd down and 9. Conlon in on the tackle.
And he was missed so much when he was out of the lineup. Williams, he had almost 900 yards rushing a year ago and 58 receptions. And when you're a target like Largent, that's Nate Odoms, you get this kind of treatment. There is no respect for a future Hall of Fame. I can assure you of that.
Well, that's also called defensive holding. I mean, you're allowed to give the guy a chuck, but Nate got away with grabbing the jersey and tossing Steve around.
And they change sides of the field as the first quarter concludes in Seattle. Seahawks on top by a score of 10-0, and ABC's Monday Night Football returns after this message and a word from our ABC station. The Kingdome in Seattle. We begin the second quarter. Seattle on top 10-0. It's 2nd and 9 for the Seahawks at the 21-yard line. Bruce Smith nearly jumps, and he does, in fact, a free play for Warner and Seattle as he takes it out to the 28-yard line. 2 flags are down, and we'll take another look at that jump by Smith.
Give an assist to Dave Craig there with the hard snap count that got Big Bruce to move. And that's, you know what I'm having trouble doing is I'm having a difficult time watching the Seahawks with the ball and not concentrating on Steve Largent. If you love this game, if you have deep feelings for this game like we all do, I mean, I would like to be here and see history made. Every time they have the ball, I'm looking forward to catching.
Have a good shot at it. I think that's on the mind, too, of Chuck Knox, the entire Seattle Seahawk organization. They love this man. He has been through the good years, the bad years, and he has played it one way, and that is 100%. During the time he was on injured reserve earlier in this year, actually was not on injured reserve, but he had damaged his elbow early in the season and was out. He'd come out and work out. And when he was ready to come back, he started working out with pads even, working out by himself, going through the game plan all on his own. Yeah, that kind of stuff filters down through the entire ball club.
Seahawks accept the penalty instead of the play, which had netted 2 more yards, but would have cost them a down. Thus it is 2nd and 4 from the 26-yard line. And Warner fights his way across the 30, and that's a Seattle first down. Bruce Smith makes the tackle, and let's take a look at the numbers through the first 15 minutes of play. Weighted over to the right-hand side of that column. 120 yards total offense for Seattle to 37 for the Bills.
But notice that the critical time of possession is exactly the same. I mean, that's
you know, the two teams came into tonight's game. Seattle was ranked 27th on offense in the entire NFL. That's next to last. Buffalo ranked 2nd overall, and the numbers are just the opposite.
First down Seahawks at the 31 with Largent going in motion. And Craig looking that way, and Largent had trouble turning around, and it's incomplete off his fingertips, and you don't see that very much. 2nd down.
Well, it's time right now for Buffalo and their high-powered defense. I mean, the heart and soul of this Buffalo squad is their defensive unit, and
now down by 10 points. It's time for these guys to earn their pay. It's time for Bruce Smith and Freddie Smirlis and Art Still and all these guys. Granted, Cornelius Bennett isn't in the lineup tonight, but there's plenty of talent on that team to go around. And when you're down, you look for your number one group of guys to make a play.
2nd and 10 from just outside the 30-yard line. Williams tries to cut it back and gets wrapped up and thrown down by Smirlis. And he hurt you, Dan.
Well, that's really what you look for. I mean, this is a defensive team that's been somewhat of a disappointment to Marv Levy and the Buffalo people. They haven't always played up to their expectations. There is Freddie Smirlis right here, and this is nothing more than penetration. Now he's aided by a blitz all the way along the front. You see Ray Bentley coming in on the blitz as well. Radisek coming from the outside. And that's just good play by the nose tackle, Fred Smirlis. Multiple Pro Bowl guy, and that's the reason why.
3rd and 12 out of the shotgun with 4 receivers. And the pass is incomplete out at the 34-yard line off the hands of Benny Blaze. Covered by Kirby Jackson, and Seattle is forced to kick early in the 2nd quarter. Chuck Knox, 2 years remaining on his contract. Is he under some fire? Well, any coach at 4-8 is going to be under some fire. You're going to have the letters to the editor and some media pressure and all of that.
One of the winningest coaches around. He with the Rams, 5 division titles, went up to Buffalo, won the division up there, came here and turned a Seattle Seahawks team totally around in the playoffs a couple of times, won the division a year ago, fell on hard times this year.
Low snap. Johnson gets it away, and a good kick at the 28-yard line. It's Mickey Sutton, and he brings it back out to the 39-yard line.
You know, one of the things, getting back to Chuck Knox, he's got the added burden of having a former coach as his general manager. Tom Flores, one of the people that's been talked about as maybe a replacement. Don't look for it to happen.
If you're like me, you appreciate value, whether it's in fine...
Tom Flores, probably waiting for a phone call. He says, I've never seen more rumors about what I'm going to do with nobody calling me.
Standard practice.
At the 39-yard line, 1st and 10. Buffalo. Kelly off the fingertips of Andre Reed. It'll be 2nd and 10. And we can tell you that coming up Saturday, ABC's college basketball, and we'll present 2 great matchups for you. 2 o'clock Eastern time. Duke against defending national champion Michigan. And then following that for Eastern time, we'll be taking a look at North Carolina. Dean Smith in your picture right there, taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes.
We are going to be hearing a lot about Michigan as we head down to the bowl games and the Rose Bowl. And the man on my right, I'm quite sure.
Oh, like your team's not playing in the Rose Bowl?
Let me get around to the wager.
2nd and 10 from the 39-yard line, and the catch is made, and that's Reed slipping tackles, getting inside the 30, the 20, the 10, and Andre Reed scores the touchdown, breaking tackles along the way and tying Elbert Dubenian for most receptions in the history of the Buffalo Bill franchise.
Well, you have to wonder how a white shirt can be in the midst of that many blue shirts and not be brought to the ground. The first guy to hit him was Nesby Glasgow.
First thing he did right was he kicked the ball from Kelly with a fine catch. Now just concentration here. Look at them stripped off him.
You had a couple glancing blows, but Glasgow's the guy that actually got in position to wrap him all the way up. And boy, a lot of Seahawks futilely chasing Reed into the end zone.
Talked about it early. He is a control ball player, ball control, or a game breaker.
Scott Norwood with Kid Holding kicks it through, so a 61-yard touchdown reception by Andre Reed.
Melvin Jenkins, number 24, is the corner that's wide up initially. And after Jenkins allows Reed to get to the inside, everyone else takes a turn, and watch Andre go.
Andre Reed, no doubt one of the premier receivers in the National Football League. Jim Kelly on the other end of that pass, and Buffalo is within 3.
One of the critiques of the Bills offense a year ago about the wide receivers, none of them had any speed. Andre Reed maybe isn't one of the fastest around, but he had enough foot speed on that occasion.
Norwood puts it in the air and angles it, fielded at the 10-yard line. This is Kevin Harmon. Brings it out to the 26-yard line, where the tackle is made by Mark Pike, who is a special teams demon for them.
Look how Jim Kelly threads that pass in there, and Andre Reed just breaks tackle after tackle. There's Eugene Robinson sliding in. Nesby Glasgow is all over him and slides off. And hey, guys, remember when we saw Andre Reed earlier in the year, and we were talking about what a powerful muscular structure he has. He's got some of the most powerful legs of any wide receiver in the National Football League, and he really showed how he can use it there. A very strong wide receiver, almost looks like a small version of a linebacker.
1st and 10, Seattle from the 27-yard line. It's Warner picking up 3. Kirk takes it out to the 30-yard line. He is tackled there by Jeff Wright, and a flag is down. And the indication against Seattle for a hold.
Hold, 65, offense, 1st down.
Edwin Bailey. Marv Levy leading Buffalo last year into the playoffs. But again, seeking this time home field advantage, but it's going to be difficult because even if he wins tonight, they would still be a game behind Denver for best overall record in the AFC. If Denver and Buffalo were to finish with the same record, the best in the AFC, the home field would still belong to Denver if they were to go to the AFC Championship game because of a Monday night game. On 1st and 20, the catch is made by Warner, and he is wrapped up and taken down by Scott Radisek. Remember, the first tiebreaker in the playoffs would be head-to-head. If the two teams had played each other and wind up, let's say, with the best records in the conference, there it is. The Bills have won 6 straight at home, 3 losses on the road, so the home field would be very important, but Denver would have the home field because they beat Buffalo in a Monday night game week 2.
You know, the ironies of ironies, that's the only home game the Bills have lost in 2 years. And it's a team that they could lose the home field advantage to because they lost at home.
2nd and 20 from the 17-yard line.
Let's go over that again after this.
Certainly, in slow motion. Warner makes the catch at the 20 and takes it out to the 29-yard line where Kirby Jackson makes the tackle, and he's about 8 yards shy of the 1st down. 3rd and 8. Spotted closer to the 30-yard line. Called a 3rd down and 7. Under 11 minutes to play in the 1st half, with Seattle on top, 10-7. Gansey in motion, and the whistle blowing the play dead before its inception. And it will go against Seattle, so that'll back them up 5 more and create a 3rd down and 12.
Ball start, number 66, offense.
Well, they're flagging Andy Heck, the left tackle. This is Andy Heck right here. Let's take a look. Watch the ball. Oh, yeah, that's a good call. You can see Heck starting to rock back in his stance, and you know, that's easy to do when you're in that 2-point stance. They call it a 2-point stance because you only have your 2 feet on the ground. You haven't dropped a hand, and it's easy to just rock back on your haunches a little bit. You see it all the time. A lot of line judges will let you get away with it. Not that time.
3rd and 12. And Craig airing it out down the sideline and knocked away. Intended for Jeff Chadwick and knocked away by Mickey Sutton. And Knox and the Seahawks are furious. They want an interference call, which they don't get.
Nor should they get. From here, that looked like just fabulous coverage by Mickey Sutton, a former Ram.
And the former Detroit Lion picked up a few weeks ago. That's Chadwick. 6'3", and they are just going up because he has the height over a Mickey Sutton, and he is stride for stride. They're little contact, but not enough to draw the flag.
That much contact is allowed. They have liberalized over the years what a defensive back can get away with.
Ruben Rodriguez fields the high snap. At the 39-yard line, it is Sutton who covered on that last play and runs the kick back to the 48-yard line. So near midfield, the Buffalo Bills will begin their next drive with exactly 10 minutes to play in the first half in Seattle. Buffalo coach through the 1982 season, then in his second season. Interesting note here, coming into play this weekend in the AFC, Thurman Thomas, top rusher, Jim Kelly, top passer, Andre Reed, top receiver. No team in the history of the league has had conference champions in all three categories. And here we are, 3/4 of the way through the season, as Kennebrew takes the ball across the 50-yard line and just into Seattle territory. Seattle on top, 10-7 with 9:45 to play in the half. The Kingdome, it used to be a house of horrors for the opposition, but not so this year. And relatively quiet at the moment. Seahawks just one victory at home. 2nd and 7. The fake to Kennebrew. And then the catch is made on the far side by James Lofton. And we've talked so much about Largent tonight, and Mr. Lofton, of course, up near the top of the charts in so many categories. The great years at Green Bay, 2 with the Raiders, and now in Buffalo. And Patrick Hunter has to respect the speed of James Lofton. He still has it. Of course, a great long jumper in his years at Stanford. Could run around a 9.5, 9.600, and did that for years. And according to Marv Levy, the Bills head coach, he's still got it. And he felt he just had to get him in there. Roughly 200 catchers behind Largent. Isn't that remarkable? Think about it. Yeah, it is. First down at the 39-yard line, and here's Thomas swinging to the outside, nearly taken down, but stays on his feet and gets to the 30-yard line.
Some things money can't buy, and that's one of them. The ability to run with a football like that. Boy, it looked to me like he was on his way down.
Look at those thighs.
Look at Tony Woods, number 57, who really gets a good pull on Thomas. Boy, you just have to think a lot of backs would have been down, and it's left to Eugene Robinson to finally get him out of bounds. That's sweet by Thurman Thomas.
He carries a couple of 100 pounds on a 5'10" frame, and we talked about Andre Reed's lower body. Well, Frank Thomas has got one also. Huge thighs, and he can just pound through tackles.
2nd and a long yard from the 30, and here's Thomas again. Cuts inside Kennebrew and takes it down to the 19-yard line. A first down for the Bills. Kennebrew again leading the way.
Well, there's a situation where Thurman didn't have to do a whole lot on his own. That's tremendous blocking at the point of attack. Starting with Wolford and Richer on the left side. He gets a great lead block from Larry Kennebrew. And this is just Thurman Thomas not even being challenged until he's about 9 or 10 yards into the secondary.
And the Bills are going back to what they came into this game trying to do, and they are starting to click. They're starting to be able to move the ball on the ground. The second leading rushing team in the NFL into tonight.
That's 39 yards on 6 carries for Thomas, who tries to pick up a few more and gets about 3, where Tony Woods makes the stop at the 16-yard line. So he's averaging about 6 yards a carry, is Thomas, coming in tonight averaging 4.4. Of course, that used to be Seattle's strong point, but the Seahawks, one of the reasons for their problems this year, the lack of a rushing game. Seattle averaging 3.6 yards a carry as a team, and the Bills 4.4, and that is a huge difference. At the 16. On 2nd and 7. Kelly throwing, knocked away, picked off at the 2-yard line by Eugene Robinson, who plucks it out of the air for the turnover.
Dwayne Harper, number 29, is the guy that makes it happen, though. What coverage and timing by Dwayne Harper on Flip Johnson. Boy, now that's how, there's Harper. See him right at the bottom of your screen. He'll come back into play. The quick slant to Johnson, and look at that play by Harper, and then it's just alert play by Eugene Robinson.
Good pressure on the part of the defense of Seattle to push right into the face of Kelly. Kelly had to throw that ball high, and that set off a whole string of events. That comes up with the interception.
Chuck Knox lamenting the fact Seattle with very few interceptions this season. That's only their 7th in Week 13, 4 of them by Robinson. And as you saw, their first in over a month. From the 7-yard line, Warner takes it out to the 12. Stopped by Ray Bentley, the inside linebacker, number 50.
Funny how it takes a combination of things to all make up what happens in a particular play. You get the rush that time. You get the high throw by Kelly. You get the aggressive play on a corner by Harper. You get the alert play by a safety and Eugene Robinson, and it all adds up to an interception. A lot of components going to make this one particular play in the course of a football game.
2nd and 5, Seattle from the 12-yard line. Largent in motion with Odom staying with him. And Warner tries to find a little gap and takes it out to the 15-yard line, setting up a 3rd and 2. Scott Radisek in on the tackle. So 3rd and 2 for the Seahawks with 6 minutes to play in the first half. These two teams last year both going to the playoffs. Buffalo beating Houston at Rich Stadium before losing to Cincinnati. And it was Seattle winning the AFC West, but having to go on the road for their first playoff game at Cincinnati, and the Bengals won it. 3rd and 2 from the 15-yard line. It's Warner on the inside handoff, has to get to the 17, gets to the 19-yard line. A first down, pretty much doing it on his own. Mark Kelso coming up to spill him. Wither Warner in his 6th year and banged up, and of course he had an operation, a career-threatening injury a few years ago. But what about Kurt in 1990? That's one of the key questions in terms of the future of this franchise.
Into tonight averaging just 3.3 yards per carry and under 500 yards. He's gone over that now, but he's had 4 1,000-yard seasons, and as you said it, Al, there a lot of people thought his career was over that 2nd year when he tore up the knee.
Also some talented young backs on his Seahawk roster.
From the 18 on first down, the catch is made by Warner, and he goes out of bounds. Kirby Jackson forcing him out, but not until he picks up 11 and gets to the 29. First down.
This is something Seattle started to do against Denver, and that is go to Warner on the pass. Ordinarily, they take him out in a passing situation, but they went to him 5 times against Denver, and they've been looking for him tonight, and they've been finding him in key situations like that, and he gets the first down.
Well, they're locking him up one-on-one with Scott Radisek, the outside linebacker, and I think that's something Seattle's going to try to take advantage of. If Warner can get to the outside of Radisek, Radisek's not going to catch him.
Here's John L. Williams, tackled out at the 31-yard line by Ray Bentley after a minimal gain. It'll be 2nd down and 9. Clock running with 4:20 to play. First half. For the victory tonight, Buffalo would be 2 up on Miami in the AFC. And again, they'd have the 2nd best record in the entire conference, second to Denver's 10-3. 2nd and 9 from the 31. Craig under pressure and sacked back at the 20-yard line. Leon Seals got to him first, number 96. Seals coming in pass rush situations and does his job.
That time actually plenty of time for Craig to hit a receiver. Ordinarily you would think that he could release the ball, but he had all 3 of his men into a deep pattern, no checkoff man. Whether or not by mistake is hard to tell, but they were all so deep that Craig had nowhere to put it.
Yeah, and that's the case, Frank, where by not having a checkoff man, it's not so much completing it to him, but you got to have someone nearby to at least sail it over his head to throw the ball away.
Absolutely. And you lead one to believe that maybe somebody blew it.
3rd and 20, and they set up a screen over the middle, and it's Williams out past the 30, and he takes it to the 35, but they get only 15 of the 20 and will be forced to kick as Kirby Jackson comes up to make the tackle.
Yeah, but a good call is his high percentage. You're not going to turn it over with that kind of a pass. A little screen pass. You have a chance to get the first down in a safe way. And as it is, they get the ball up to the 35-yard line, a much better area to kick the ball, and they did not have to take the risk.
It's one of those drives that doesn't net any points, but it sure tacks a lot on after that interception by Robinson. You get a couple of first downs, and rather than kicking it away from your own 10, you're clear up by the 35. That's a big difference. A successful drive for Seattle.
Harper LaBelle's snap is high, and Rodriguez covers up back at the 8-yard line, but it is Buffalo ball, 1st and goal.
So much for the drive that netted several first downs.
A couple of bad snaps now by LaBelle. Ironic that we were talking to Chuck Knox this morning about people who snap the football. He says you have to keep someone on your roster just to do this. That's a good way to get off of it. We've seen a bad snap of the conversion. Now a bad snap on the punt.
It's Steve Tasker that gets all the way back in there and smothers the ball. Pretty easy play by Tasker. Chasing a punter who's rolling around on the ground, and a critical error by the Seahawks gives the Buffalo Bills excellent field position.
1st and goal just inside the 10-yard line. They swap the tight ends to Kennebrew on a wing and give it to Thomas to the strong side, and he takes it down to about the 6-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal with 2:28 to play in the first half.
And I guess when the 1989 season comes to a close, that'll be one more play that Chuck Knox can talk about that kind of characterizes everything that's happened this year. It is, I said, Coach, has it been a bad year? And he looked at us and said, no, it's been the worst.
And of course, he was able to go back and pinpoint things, not in a way of making a whole lot of excuses, but I think he was just trying to dramatize what has happened. All the things that have gone so well for the Seattle Seahawks, particularly last year, over the years, seem to have gone totally wrong this year. And there is another example of it, and Buffalo is threatening now to take the lead as we are at the 2-minute warning.
2nd and goal when we come back. After the barn door has been closed,
practice makes perfect, I guess.
Harper LaBelle snapping on the sidelines. Rusty Tillman, the special teams coach for the Seahawks. And his unit has given Buffalo a golden opportunity. It's 2nd down and goal from the 6. With Kennebrew sent in motion. And Thomas running that way, has to come back the other way. And a great play by number 22, Nesby Glasgow. That is a 9-yard loss. Puts it back to the 15. M.L. Johnson running through Kennebrew to help set it up for Glasgow.
Do you know who really makes that happen, though, is Jacob Green. Watch Jacob Green, number 79. Look at the head start he gets right in the middle of your screen, and then he takes away the cutback from Thurman Thomas. So Thomas is forced to do that 180, spin all the way around, and Glasgow makes the play. Give the credit to 79. Jacob Green.
Kelly shouting as they come up in the gun on 3rd and goal. Too long. Intended for Ronnie Harmon, who goes out Bo Jackson's tunnel. Last time we saw somebody run through that tunnel, it was Bo at the end of his 93-yard scamper here.
Pressure again by Green on that play, and good coverage by the rookie Chris Hale, who took the pass away from Kelly, and Kelly had to hurry it, and he just threw it out of the end zone to save the interception or the sack.
So Scott Norwood now will attempt a 32-yard field goal. John Kidd holding.
Hey, somebody tell this crowd that their club's only won 4 ball games, will you?
It's perfect. Norwood boots it through, but they can't get into the end zone with a 1st and goal, have to settle for 3, and they tie it up with 1 minute and 8 seconds to play in the first half.
And Marv Levy takes very little satisfaction from that field goal. That's a situation where you'd like to see a touchdown. You expect a touchdown from an offensive team as talented as the Bills. That's a victory for Seattle and their defensive team.
And thanks to the defense for Seattle, they make the best out of a bad situation. Could have put them behind.
So the game tied 10-10 next week, of course, will be in Anaheim. 49ers against the Rams, and the Rams began the year with 5 victories and 4 losses. And now 4 wins. And number 4 yesterday in the current streak against Dallas. And Everett does it again, as he did in New Orleans the prior Sunday. 2 late touchdowns, this one to Aaron Cox, putting the Rams ahead for good at the end. They had a tough time with the Cowboys, but the Rams prevail 35-31. Rams go to 9-4, and we see them against the 49ers a week from tonight.
I think the beginning of the Rams losing streak, Frank, was the game up in Buffalo. It was Buffalo that started the Rams on their losing streak with a tremendous comeback orchestrated by Frank Reich, who was filling in for Jim Kelly and led the Bills to 3 straight wins.
And from there, they went from bad to worse. They lost 4 straight, as Al pointed out. Streaky in both ways. They certainly do appear, though, to have it back together again.
Harmon and Hollis back to receive the kick. Norwood putting it in the air. Fielded by Harmon near the goal line. And he gets buried out at about the 17-yard line. All 3 timeouts remain for the Seahawks with 1 minute and 3 seconds left in the half. Well, what will make you laugh, make you cry, and is 3 hours long. Besides tonight's game, that's what it says here. It's ABC's All-Star Tuesday with Who's the Boss, The Wonder Years, Roseanne, Coach, and 30-something. That's tomorrow night right here on ABC.
Also at halftime, we've been talking a lot about Steve Largent. We're going to take a close-up look at an extraordinary young man, both on the field and off.
From the 17-yard line, Craig going right to the air, and he winds up hitting Brian Blades, and Blades is out of bounds out at the 28-yard line. The brother of Benny Blades, and I'm not the first or last, I'm sure, to have called him, I think, Benny one time before. Brian Blades making his own very large mark here in Seattle. That's his 62nd catch of the season.
If you look at him again, the leading receiver for the Seahawks, I'm sure he'll never forget last week against the Denver Broncos. It was a 38-0 blowout in the first half of that game by Denver, but he had a chance right in his hands. Kelly Stoffer put a pass that he could have taken 96 yards for a touchdown, and he dropped it.
From the 29-yard line, again, it's a shirt tackle. Lewis Clark, the receiver, and John Hagee dragging him down.
Well, on the last one, it was Nate Odoms that showed a little tenacity hanging onto the jersey of Blades, and that time Lewis Clark gets flung by his jersey. Might be time for these receivers from Seattle to start wearing some tighter jerseys, something like the offensive linemen wear. Look at this. That's just making it easy to be tackled with a baggy jersey.
Or the tearaway jobs. If this was Alabama, we'd have seen 2 touchdowns on the last 2 plays.
Tearaway jersey is illegal in the National Football League.
Yes, it is.
Certainly saves on the wardrobe.
And Alabama, we'll be seeing them, I guess, huh?
New Year's night in the Sugar Bowl
against the Miami Hurricanes. Who's number 1? I guess Colorado is the only team that has it in their own destiny, and everyone else, Michigan, Miami, Alabama, everyone, I guess, still alive.
Miami number 2 right now.
Although Alabama, after their loss to Auburn, clearly needs a whole lot of help.
2nd and 5 from the 34-yard line. Craig fires to the far side, and no, at the 42-yard line. Yes, the catch was made, and then out of bounds. Brian Blades made the catch.
He made a remarkable catch. I don't know. I'm sure we'll take a look at it, whether he got both feet down, but it's worth watching just to see the way he stretched out, knowing where he was, knowing what he had to do, and that is to get both feet in bounds. Take a look. Both of them have to come down. Did the ball hit before he did?
I don't think so. Left knee was down, but not the right leg. But no review.
They'll let it go.
At the 42-yard line. Clock is stopped with 44 seconds. 4-man rush. Craig going deep, too deep. And a lot of contact and a lot of action, but all after the play was over, and thus no flag intended for Lewis Clark. Mickey Sutton and Leonard Smith doing a tag team number on him.
Leonard Sutton, as we pointed out on a couple of other occasions with these Bills, really put together this Bills defense. What they might have been lacking when they got Leonard Smith, it really changed things for them. He is one of the real power hitters, and Jeff Chadwick has gone to the bench for Seattle.
It is Steve Largent
who's gone to the bench
right now, who hobbled over to the sideline, and timeout is now called by Seattle. And let's take a look at what happened to Steve Largent. Here's the last play.
Working against Kirby Jackson, gets tied up with Chadwick there, and now Largent, nothing appeared. He got hung up there with Brian Blades. It did not appear to be anything severe, but he has limped to the sidelines, and now he looks to be all right.
What will Steve do next year? We were talking to him before the game. He's already auditioned with NBC and CBS for a prospective analyst job. He still makes his home in Tulsa.
Yeah, you can see, a lot of times that's when a player will get hurt. He's looking ahead. He doesn't see his own man coming in there. He didn't see Brian Blades at all. And alertly, it looked like rather than find himself in a compromising position, Largent fell to the ground instead of trying to land in some sort of an awkward situation. As you see, he comes back out and goes back into the Seattle huddle. What a gifted player.
Meanwhile, the Seahawks spent the time out there. They are down to just one, with 2nd and 10 upcoming from the 42-yard line. And Craig firing over the middle. Blades makes the catch. He's to the Buffalo 40, to the 35, and tackled at the 32 by Hagee and Kelso. And again, they are down to just one timeout.
They've used it.
And they take it right here with 32 seconds.
And you hate to leave yourself without a timeout, but that's really the only call that Dave Craig had. He had to take that timeout there. Would have taken a good 12 seconds or so to get his club up to the line of scrimmage and run a play that would have put you down to 20 seconds or less. So they picked up all this yardage on the pass to Brian Blades. The Buffalo defense playing entirely too soft of an umbrella. Dave Craig alertly throwing underneath it, letting Blades do something with it. And this has been a very effective drive at the end of the first half by Seattle.
As so often you see, when you go with the pass pattern into the middle of a prevent defense, you're going to get big yardage out of it. The team gambling that you'll run out of time, and particularly they're going to gamble when you only have one timeout, that you're going to try to work the sidelines. And that time, Seattle with Brian Blades, it's good yardage right up the gut.
You know who's been playing a good ball game so far is big Andy Heck. He's been battling Bruce Smith. He's been getting some help, but the big guy from Notre Dame is holding his own against big Bruce.
And you can tell because I've barely mentioned Smith's name to this point. And that's the sign of the offensive lineman doing a good job. First down, and it's incomplete. Intended for Williams. Another reason, too, they're taking care of Smith is because he's getting double teamed a lot.
Well, I mean, that's the price you pay. If you're Bruce Smith or you're Reggie White or Howie Long, you're going to get a double team. There's Andy Heck knowing that he has help back to the inside. That's just a fabulous spin move by Bruce Smith. That would have beaten Heck, but there's Edwin Bailey, his guard, helping him out to the inside.
Pretty good of Heck, too, when you say, Dan, he protected the outside. That was the only place he could get hurt.
That's exactly right.
4 receivers, 3 of them set to the right side on 2nd down from the 32-yard line, and Craig goes the other way, and it's nearly picked off by Nate Odoms, who was one-on-one with Scansey, and Odoms is shaken up. 24 seconds remaining in the half.
Boy, that would have been just a tremendous interception by Odoms. He really had to stretch for the ball and almost looked like he landed on the ball.
Made a diving attempt, and so often that will happen, and he is in obvious pain. Let's take a look again. He dives in for the football and either came down on the ball or on his hands that were under his body.
Yeah, he lands right on the ball.
Right on the top of it.
Right on the sternum, and that will take the wind right out of you.
Well, even more than that, you could do some ribs on it or some rib cartilage, and he is in obvious pain.
So timeout while they work on Odoms. And we have a moment to go back to yesterday at Cleveland Stadium on a frosty day, and particularly frosty for the Browns. Here was James Brooks doing a wonderful job selling the run, flipping it back to Esiason. He finds Tim McGee, and McGee is able to roll into the end zone for the touchdown. The Bengals very much in the hunt in the AFC Central. A game back of Houston right now, 21-0. The final score. Houston on top in the AFC Central by a half game over Cleveland and 1 over Cincinnati.
And Cleveland actually playing like a team, Al, that's got one foot in the grave. Looked terrible against Seattle. I mean, looked terrible against the Lions on Thanksgiving Day, and then really pitiful against Cincinnati. Team in trouble, the Cleveland Browns.
Meanwhile, you saw Craig, a milestone on that last pass, the last pass completion, going up and over.
And Odoms will be all right.
Mark.
Odoms will be all right. Have the wind knocked out of him. We'll see him again.
Chris Hale replaces him, a rookie out of USC. It'll be 3rd and 10 with no timeouts remaining for Seattle. 24 seconds on the clock. Right now, if they don't move a yard, you're looking at about a 49-yard field goal as Norm Johnson warms up. His longest this season, 50 against San Diego.
You saw a quick look at Chris Hale. It will not be lost upon the Seattle coaches that Chris Hale, a rookie, is in there at right cornerback, replacing one of the veteran cornerbacks. And wouldn't be surprised if they somehow try to isolate Hale on a receiver and go to him.
And they isolate him on Blades with 4 receivers on 3rd down and 10. And Craig going deep and looking for Blades, and it is incomplete and knocked away. And there is Hale, number 26.
It's an age-old rule. If you got a new kid, let's test him. And boy, was Chris Hale up to it.
He really was. He had great position in the end zone. He was just behind. Let's take a look at it again. Not big. He's only 5'7", about 160 pounds, number 26. Chris Hale. He was beaten, but this would have had to have been an absolutely perfectly thrown ball, and it was an absolutely perfectly thrown ball. That should have been caught.
Well, you saw Hale get his hand up and actually got it on the arm of Blades and restricted the catch from that way. It's just good defense and a good throw.
Largent spots it for Johnson. This is a 50-yarder. It has the distance, but no. It's wide. And the clock stops with 14 seconds remaining in the half.
Let's go back and take a look at the 3rd and 10 play. There's Chris Hale coming in. Boy, Dave Craig drops it right in there. Bobbled for a moment by Blades, and before he can pull it into his body, Hale strips his arms down. I think we'll get a good look at it here. Actually, Hale actually gets his right hand on the ball.
That's a great play by Hale. And that angle is totally different. He didn't interfere with him at all. He got the hand on the football. Again, he's only not 5'7", and he went up with Brian Blades and knocked that football away.
One of your Trojans, Frank.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm glad you did. Hey, we'll also be going to the Rose Bowl for the 3rd time, and there was who they meeting then?
The team they lost to last year.
Thank you. Cost me 100.
As it will again.
You didn't bring that up.
As it will again, Frank. As it should be.
I don't have my fight on song with me.
Kneel down by Kelly ends the half. We'll take a look at Steve Largent as part of our halftime feature tonight. And the Bills and the Seahawks go back to the locker room, tied 10-10 at the end of the first half, and Monday Night Football returns after a commercial. A message from the National Football League and a word from our ABC station. And back we come. A little play on words there. The House of Pain in Houston. The House of Rain here in Seattle. Nice and dry inside, but it's been pouring outside for the entire weekend. And inside the Kingdome, a 10-10 tie as we start the second half. Norm Johnson puts it in the air, and it's a deep kick fielded 3 yards in the end zone by Don Beebe, who thought about it.
Nice fake.
Good stutter step there.
Looks like somebody tied a chain to his belt.
Yep. So Kelly and the Bills take over at the 20-yard line, and there are the numbers through the first half of play.
Seattle with a big passing half with 175 yards and about an 80-yard advantage in total yardage. But a 10-10 tie nonetheless. The long play from Jim Kelly to Andre Reed, and the broken tackles, the big play of the first half.
61-yard touchdown reception. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Kelly taking to Thomas, and he's going to air it out on the first play for Lofton, and Lofton can't get free. Covered well on the play by Dwayne Harper. Throw back to the old USFL days of Jim Kelly.
Dwayne Harper, pretty good position on the speedster. James Lofton, I'm sure they talked it over at halftime, said we're going to come out, we're going to open up with this. And good position by Dwayne Harper, the cornerback, on Lofton.
Close to 60 yards in the air. And it'll be 2nd down and 10.
And that's a pattern that 5 or 6 years ago, Lofton would have been 3 yards past Harper. That's a big difference in James Lofton's game between now and then.
Here's Thurman Thomas on a 2nd down play, picking up close to 4. And it will be 3rd down and 6. And Seattle is saying it was a fumble and they have recovered. But there's been no indication of that from the official, and there won't be. 3rd down. In on the tackle, Jeff Bryant. We mentioned that's a long in the tooth defensive line for the Seahawks. Jacob Green in his 10th year, Joe Nash in his 8th, Jeff Bryant in his 8th. 3rd and 6 from the 24-yard line. Kelly is 3 out of 11. 4 out of 12 now, and a 1st down as Reed gets thrown out of bounds by Patrick Hunter. At the 43-yard line, there is a flag down back at the 13-yard line. It had nothing to do with the end of the play.
Well, yeah, I believe it. It almost looked like Hunter made a shot out of bounds, but this is a flag clear back. The flag's actually laying at the 13. Yep. Hunter took a real shot at Reed when he was out of bounds.
The flag is 11 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Offensive hold, number 69. Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 67 on the defense. Replay the down.
Seattle was in a prevent defense, 4 down linemen. They did a little stunt over in the right side, and they picked up Wilford on the hole.
Yeah, there's Rufus Porter. This is Porter right here. He's working against Will Wolford. Let's take a look at that. Rufus Porter with 10 sacks on the year already, and Wolford there with the left arm, the way he reaches out and holds. Boy, that's a major league hold on Rufus Porter, keeping him from getting anywhere near Jim Kelly. But then a personal foul called downfield against Patrick Hunter, and thus no play. Let's do it again.
So you can wipe out a 19-yard pickup, and back we come to 3rd and 6 from the 24-yard line. Kelly protected well, and a wobbly pass is nearly intercepted, and all James Jefferson could see was 6 points.
I think that ball was too ugly to intercept. It's tough to catch a ball that's going end over end. Jefferson not able to handle the knuckleball. That's a there's a pitch that any of the old knuckleballers would have been proud of. Ooh. And again, I hearken back to what Chuck Knox said. Add one more. This is a secondary that only had 6 interceptions coming into this game. Robinson had 1 in the first half, but that's a dismal total for a secondary.
Kid's kick is fielded at the 38-yard line by Hollis, who eludes the first man and brings it back out to the 45-yard line. He eluded Steve Tasker, 7-yard run back, ball at the 45 with 13:47 to play in the 3rd quarter in Seattle. Well, there it is. Last week in the revised tally, it was Dan destroying Simpson and Rashad.
You're big in the Northwest.
Needless to say, a very intelligent and discriminating audience here in Seattle. No wonder they're such excellent football fans.
Recount.
Yeah, recount is right.
Seattle takes over after the punt at the 44-yard line. And Craig goes right to the air and has it intercepted at the 40-yard line by Art Still, who takes it to the 30. The defensive end, Art Still, and Craig can't believe it.
This is shades of Phil Simms yesterday, throwing it right to Clyde Simmons.
Still had to catch this one. No way he could avoid it. Hit him right smack in the numbers, and again, put that one in your litany of what's gone wrong.
Watch Art Still there to the right of your screen, working on on Mike Wilson rather, and just takes a little step to the right and finds the ball right in his chest.
Art Still has been in the National Football League since 1978, and that's his first career interception.
Oh, he's never had a quarterback throw it right to him before.
Here's Thomas, and he is dragged down.
He didn't want to make Craig look bad.
M.L. Johnson makes the tackle. Art Still, his career resurrected after all of those years in Kansas City. Some thought he was finished.
Marv Levy, who drafted Still. He was the second player taken in the draft when Marv Levy had the first-round pick back in 1978.
And we've got an injured Buffalo Bill, and that is Thurman Thomas, who is the man shaken up. So here is the workhorse, the durable key to their attack thus far this season, with what he has done on the ground and as a receiver as well. In a very anxious moment for the Buffalo Bills.
It looks like they're looking at something with the legs. Can't tell if it's an ankle or a toe or a knee, or tough to tell. Let's take a look at it if we could. There's Thurman Thomas, and as he gets brought down by a couple of Bills, Jeff Bryant, M.L. Johnson, Joe Nash in there.
So Thomas will come off, and Ronnie Harmon will come in to spell him, at least for the moment.
Heavily padded, as you could see, the left leg, so it could be aggravated, something that he had hurt before coming into tonight. He had a huge pad on that left calf, and coming down on top of it, Joe Nash and M.L. Johnson. Now, they don't lose a whole lot with Ronnie Harmon in there, because he used to be the starter before Thurman Thomas was drafted 2 years ago. So he knows what it's all about back there.
2nd and 8 from the 28-yard line. Harmon out into the pattern, and they swing it out to Harmon, and he takes it down to the 23-yard line, where he is 3 yards shy of the first down. Patrick Hunter makes the tackle.
Harmon, a good receiver, perhaps a better receiver than he is a running back. They use him many times as a flanker. This time he's the checkoff man. Kelly looks downfield, nothing happening down there, and goes to Harmon, and a good open field tackle by Hunter. They are working on the left leg now with Thurman Thomas.
Harmon making his 20th catch of the season. 3rd and a long 2 at the 22. And Kelly will go up top to try to get it, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Lofton. And in comes Norwood now for what will be close to a 40-yard attempt.
Well, James Lofton running a full-blown slant to the inside. Jim Kelly anticipating Lofton to sit down and run a curl. And by the look of frustration on the part of James Lofton after the play, you kind of sense that he made a mistake.
They read two different defenses.
Yep.
40-yard attempt for Norwood. Kid to hold. Snap is good, so is the spot, and so is the kick. And the Buffalo Bills, for the first time in the game, take the lead.
That's one of the problems with the modern passing game, where it's all sight adjustment. Quarterback sees one thing, the receiver sees another. But this is easy to see, right down the middle.
Seahawks led 10-0. That was the score at the end of the first quarter. It was 10-10 at the half. 2 more Norwood field goals. He has 3 in the game, have given the Bills a 6-point lead. And Kevin Harmon is back to receive, along with Hollis, as Norwood will put it in the air. 6:40 to go in the third quarter. David Hollis got past the 20. and pays for it. And his forward progress has him out to about the 24-yard line. Well, clearly the San Francisco 49ers, the class right now of the NFC. Denver with the best record in the AFC, but it appears we're at this point of the season heading for maybe a Buffalo-Denver showdown in the AFC Championship game. What do you guys think?
And of course the home field advantage still up for grabs. Buffalo surprisingly having a tough time here tonight. I mean, they've had a couple of turnovers deep into Seattle's territory. They had great field position, and they've had to settle for 3 field goals down there. And Seattle doing a fine job defensively.
It's going to be hard, though, for Buffalo to unseat Denver from having the home field advantage, because Buffalo would have to finish a game ahead of Denver because of that Denver win in Buffalo at the beginning of the season. So, by and large, you'd have to say that it's going to be Denver's job at home as long as they keep winning.
One of those terrifying figures about Denver in playoff games at home. We've talked about a couple of weeks ago when they were playing Washington, almost unbeatable in playoff competition at Denver.
That's Darren Miller, who is the injured Seahawk. As play will resume at the 24-yard line. And well, we had a beauty last week in San Francisco, and it should be more of the same next week in Anaheim. Rams 49ers a week from tonight.
And as Dan pointed out, one of the San Francisco losses to Los Angeles early in the year by what, 1 point, 12-13.
And when we talked to the Rams earlier, didn't both Jim Everett and John Robinson look at that game as the game where the Rams might have won a season's worth of confidence in beating San Francisco?
Here's Seattle on 1st and 10, and the pass intended for Largent. Incomplete. Ray Bentley in the area covering on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 10. And it's been very frustrating for the Seattle offense after a most auspicious beginning on their first 2 drives of the game.
You get back to the 49ers for a moment. I mean, you look at the way they're playing right now, it would be, I mean, it's difficult not to say that they're the best team in the game the way they are firing on all cylinders. But a lot of people, myself included, I thought at the beginning of the year that really the Rams would be the team to beat in that division. I'm not ashamed to say so. I thought the Rams would be there.
2nd and 10 as Craig's pass intended for Blades, and Brian Blades can't hold on as Kirby Jackson covers, and Bruce Smith gives Craig his own special greeting.
Now, there's something unusual. Number 78 lying on top of a quarterback.
This is man for man. The blitz is on. It is Jackson against Blades. Blades across the middle. Jackson with a hand in there, pulling his left hand away, and Jackson didn't get the flag, but he had his hand inside, pulling away Blades' arm before he could get it up.
That should have been interference. And boy, look at Bruce Smith crawl all the way in there. That's Grant Fiesel, the center, fighting Bruce all the way in there. But you know, Jackson really got away with one there. That's flaggable, if that's such a word.
4 receivers it is now, and on 3rd and 10. It's Lewis Clark who makes the catch, but he is tackled short of the 1st down. He is stopped at the 32-yard line, and they're forced to kick. Mickey Sutton makes the tackle. And they are restless in the kingdom. I mean, really restless.
Well, they're wondering why you throw a 3-yard pattern when you need much more than that to get the 1st down. And Mickey Sutton, one of the better tacklers in the Buffalo secondary. He's made a couple good open field stops tonight. He was there, had the good coverage, and he gave it up. He knew how much room he had, and he took advantage of it.
Ruben Rodriguez to punt. LaBelle snapping again. This time the snap is good. And the kick is a good one. It backs Sutton up to the 21-yard line. And he brings it back out to the 30. Tackled by Glasgow. Rodriguez's boot that time 46 yards, and we have 5 minutes and 24 seconds remaining in the 3rd period.
Boy, that's a face mask. Looked like there was a face mask on that last kickoff return by Glasgow. We're seeing some guys get away with some penalties. There's that left hand of Nesby Glasgow.
Ooh, yeah.
Right on Sutton's face mask.
Spun him around like a top.
Yeah,
he went down without even being hit.
That's where that's so dangerous, when you get that hit yanked like that. That's why they try to enforce that face mask. A player is very vulnerable.
1st and 10 from the 30. Here's Thurman Thomas behind Kinnebrew. And he takes it out to the 34-yard line. Woods and Glasgow converge on the tackle.
Boy, old Howard, the House Ballard at right tackle that time, must have been looking for a payback on Jacob Green. He takes Jacob Green only about 10 yards away and puts him on his back.
At about this point, I think the strength and power of that big offensive line of Buffalo is beginning to tell on, well, frankly, a very old Seattle front three.
Crowd is doing the wave. The reason for the noise is Thomas takes it out to the 39-yard line. M.L. Johnson in on the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
Yeah, you make a good point, Frank, about the offensive line of Buffalo. They're giant. They've got a nice blend of youth and experience, and they are capable of just hammering it out. You got big backs in there. Got guys like Mueller and Kinnebrew that'll slam it to you, and then the quickness with Harmon and Thomas. It's a very nice mix when Buffalo wants to run the ball.
3rd and 1. Meanwhile, the look of a crowd whose team is 4-8, amusing themselves with a wave.
This is a great football town.
3rd and 1 from the 39-yard line. Kelly off the play fake. Going deep, but too deep, intended for Butch Roll. Roll, a tight end who caught a touchdown pass last week against Cincinnati.
And his only reception of the season. You have the second best rushing team in the NFL, and you have a 3rd down and 1, and you get gimmicky with the receivers only caught one all season long, and 4th throw actually by Kelly, but now they're going to have to turn the ball over to Seattle.
Oh, that's just a misfire by Jim Kelly. That's almost thinking too much. Had a guy too wide open and tried to touch it in there too much.
John Kidd to punt. High floater. Fair catch is called for. David Hollis makes it at the 26-yard line, and from there will Seattle begin its next drive. 3 minutes and 49 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. Kelly upset with himself. A reminder against Saturday. College basketball, great doubleheader for you. Duke against Michigan starts it off. That's the first half of it at 2 o'clock Eastern time, 11 in the morning Pacific. And then Dean Smith and the North Carolina Tar Heels against Iowa at 4 o'clock.
Dr. Tom Davis in Iowa.
From the 26-yard line, Kurt Warner spinning but going nowhere. Bruce Smith is there to make sure it's a minimal gain, and the Bluebirds are out again.
Every time Chuck Knox keeps the ball on the ground, as anyone who follows this game knows that he is prone to do, this crowd's going to boo. I think it's a combination of things. They want to see a little air display with them trailing by 6 points. I think the Steve Largent story comes into play here as well. This crowd would like to see Steve Largent get that 100th touchdown reception. Not to mention, we'd like to see it.
2nd and 8. Craig throws, and it is Blades making the catch, and he has a 1st down. Kirby Jackson covering on the play. 1st down at the 37-yard line.
And not all that bad of coverage. And Craig, even though he's not big, 6'1", 190-pounder, he can put the zip on it. He had a real frozen rope out there this time to Blades, and he put it just about the only place he could to get the completion.
Well, that's beautiful work by Blades, getting both of those forearms down on the field to make sure that ball can't hit
scooping it up.
Turf. Bruce Smith once again trying to fight double teaming on the other side. Boy, you got to be patient to be a defensive end as good as he is and get tagged by 2 or 3 people every time.
1st down Seattle at the 38. Craig under some pressure and throws it out of bounds, intended for Largent, and the pressure coming in the form of number 78 for a change, Bruce Smith.
Again, 2 men on Bruce Smith, and he still was able to get very close to Craig before he could release it.
That's a problem where your back hurts a tackle more than he helps him. It's Kurt Warner trying to help Andy Heck, but watch what happens. Warner gets in the way, and Heck can't really deliver a blow to Bruce Smith. Warner's he's absorbing more than anything else, and that was a situation where Kurt would have been better to duck up to the inside and let Heck go ahead and stay one-on-one with Bruce Smith. I mean, you give him an A for effort, but that's a little bit of a mismatch. Kurt Warner trying to block Bruce Smith.
2nd and 10. Draw to Williams, and that doesn't fool anybody. The whole middle of the line led by Fred Smerlis, stopping that effort and setting up a 3rd down and about 8. 2 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter. Coming into the game, we mentioned Seattle averaging 3.6 yards a rush. Tonight, 1.9.
Whoa.
League average is exactly 4. Third down, call it 9 from the 39. 4 receivers. Craig out of the shotgun. Blades in motion. 4-man rush. And going deep and dropped at the 35-yard line. Steve Largent was there, and Nate Odoms was covering.
Brilliant pass by Craig to get it in there, and that one, Largent, of course, he knows better than anyone. He should have had that, and he would have had the 1st down. Good effort by Craig. The coverage was not bad on Largent. 4 wide receivers. You get the man-for-man coverage. Odoms locked on there, number 37, and Craig put it exactly where he had to put it.
Well, you don't see that very often. That ball is just perfectly thrown, and that's just a drop, plain and simple. Steve Largent dropped the ball.
Rodriguez to kick. Sutton sets up at his own 20. And a flag goes down as Rodriguez gets decked. Fair catch at the 21-yard line, but a penalty flag is down. It was John Hagee who came flying through and made the contact with Rodriguez.
Rodriguez gave it to Stanislavski there, too.
Well, now it's going to be critical. Is this running into the kicker, or is this roughing the kicker? Running into the kicker will only be 5 yards, and that won't be good for a 1st down. If it's roughing the kicker, that'll be good for a 1st down for Seattle. Again, there's 2 different classifications here.
The Bills could also be contending that he got a piece of the ball.
Well, they're going to call that the 15-yard variety. That's roughing the kicker, the personal foul kind. And that's going to be a Seattle 1st down. That's a judgment call by the official.
Marv Levy protesting. Hagee protesting that he was not intentionally
Hagee's the second guy in. Now he goes ahead. The question is going to be is whether or not Patrick Hunter pushed Hagee.
I'm sure Hagee was saying exactly that. And if you block him into the kicker, there is no foul.
Well, that is certainly the contention of Marv Levy and the Bills team, was that Hagee was run into the kicker.
So the Bills steaming, but the Seahawks get a huge break, and from the 46-yard line they try to capitalize, and Williams makes the catch. Bentley with the tackle at the 41-yard line after a gain of about 5.
Why don't we go back and take another look at that? As you look at this, keep in mind now that Hagee is the 2nd man in. He's the 2nd man in from the outside, and that's Patrick Hunter, number 27, who makes contact with him. That's, you know, you see Hunter with his hands on his back, and there's no question that he was pushing him, but I don't know that he pushed him hard enough to make contact where there wouldn't have been contact anyway.
I agree with that assessment. As Smith starts to come across, was he drawn or not is the question.
I mean, when you looked at that thing the last time, I don't think you could say that Hunter threw Hagee into the kicker, into Rodriguez. I don't think that was the case.
He looks like he's going to get there anyway.
Exactly.
Again, in an Elway-like move here for Craig, that head bob creates the encroachment.
One thing to keep in mind, though, is that the quarterback, when he does this, is supposed to remain stationary. Well, that wasn't exactly what I'd call a head bob. He jutted his chin, clearly.
John Elway getting quite a reputation for this. It's been going on for a long time, however, and if you particularly you get somebody like a Bruce Smith who comes off that line so quickly, and every now and then you can catch him with it.
I don't know when they changed the rule, but remember, Frank, in the old days, I mean, that quarterback was allowed to he was allowed to bend at the waist and jerk his upper body, and it was a free-for-all.
If you were a defensive lineman, then it was a lot easier to judge. You just were careful every time.
From the 36-yard line, John L. Williams ending the quarter with a 1-yard pickup to the 35-yard line.
And this crowd just doesn't want to see anything involving the running game.
And so the third quarter will expire at the Kingdome. 16-10, Buffalo on top. And ABC's Monday Night Football returns after this from our ABC station.
Soviet fighter.
What do you think? Best Monday night game of the 70s? Well, the majority of you now think it's Oakland against Buffalo in '74.
Ahmad Rashad has all his NBC colleagues.
Right, dialing furiously.
I bet.
Yep.
The Boz, still with a couple years left on his $1 million plus a year contract, and very iffy as to whether or not he'll ever play again in this league.
Multiple shoulder troubles.
2nd and 9 as we start the fourth quarter, and the catch is made by Brian Blades at the 25-yard line, and that should be enough for a first down. Ray Bentley in on the tackle. So the Seahawks trying to keep this drive alive thanks to that roughing the kicker penalty.
Talked about the read between the quarterback and the receiver. There's a good shot of it from the end zone as Blades comes down. He reads the zone. As Craig reads it, finds a little opening, and Craig fires it in.
Blades has caught 5 tonight. There it is, for 66 yards. And that's 66 for the season for him. 1st and 10 at the 25. Seattle trailing by 6. Lofted for Blades. He stretches out, but too far. He got behind Kirby Jackson, but couldn't make the play. 2nd down.
Keep in mind, this is a Buffalo defense without Shane Conlon. He's out for the balance of the game because of a bad ankle. Cornelius Bennett didn't even suit up because of the bad knee. This is not the Buffalo defense you've been used to seeing, but I tell you one thing they are getting tonight, and that is excellent play by their secondary.
Jackson again with good coverage there. That would have had to have been an absolutely perfectly thrown ball.
Hey, he forces Craig to go up and over with it because he's close enough on the underneath side.
2nd and 10 at the Buffalo 25. And again, too deep. Largent had broken the pattern off at the 10-yard line.
And now the reason he did, because Nate Odoms, just like his counterpart, Kirby Jackson on the other side, played him absolutely perfectly man for man. Banged him coming off. Largent was going to take it into the corner of the end zone. He's in a kind of a squat there, but that's the characteristic of Odoms. He is total concentration on Largent.
Looks like Lester Hayes when he gets down in that crouch.
He forces Largent to break that off at less of an angle than he wanted to. And of course, again, Craig reading and knowing the pattern that should have been run, throws it into the end zone incomplete.
Outstanding by Nate Odoms.
3rd and 10, 4 receivers out of the shotgun here. Craig pressured and sacked at the 34-yard line, and that may take him out of field goal range or close to it. Darryl Talley gets credit for the sack.
That's a sack a veteran quarterback just can't take. That is a sack knocking your team out of field goal range that a veteran quarterback like Dave Craig just can't take. It's 3rd down. You know you're not going to get another shot at it. You have got to throw it out of bounds.
Got one of the big kickers around. He's had some big ones in his time. Johnson, we watched him tonight kick the ball deep into the end zone, but you're right, he took him away from what would have been a 42-yard field goal to one that is really right at the edge of his range.
Career high is 54. This would be a 53-yard attempt as Largent puts it down. And the kick is wide, so Johnson misses again. And we have 13:26 to play in the fourth quarter. And the Seahawks have been shut out since the first period. So they cannot capitalize on roughing the kicker, and Buffalo gets the ball back.
The NFC West, but the Everett to Anderson Express has the Rams close behind. They meet next week on ABC Sports.
As you look at Ted Marchibroda, the offensive coordinator, the Bills have not been shut out in the fourth quarter in the last 23 regular season games. How unique is that? Well, there's the NFL record. New England in 85 and 86 holds the mark at 24. So Buffalo can tie it by putting points on the board tonight. They have it at the 34 after the missed field goal. And here's Thomas breaking it for a first down all the way to the Hawk 48-yard line, where Darren Como makes the tackle after a 17-yard gain.
Boy, that's just tremendous blocking on the right side of the Buffalo line. Again, it's Howard Ballard, number 75, the right tackle. He just buries Jacob Green to the inside. Joe Nash sealed off. And then it's Larry Kinnebrew again with the lead block. You see number 70, Joe Devlin, all the way down the field with his man. That's just dominating the line of scrimmage by the Buffalo Bills.
From the 49-yard line, here's Thomas. And he squirts through for a gain of 3 to the 46.
That's just a mirror of the play they ran a moment ago, trying it over on this side. This time Seattle cuts it off for a couple of yards, but it's been effective all night long. The straightaway zone blocking, and the big Larry Kinnebrew leading the way.
2nd and 8. Buffalo at the Seattle 47. 12:15 remaining. Thomas again, and this time he can't get out of the backfield. Number 92, David Wyman, coming up to stop him. It'll be 3rd down and 9 for the Bills at the 48-yard line. Next week, Buffalo home against New Orleans, and that's their final home game. They close the year on the road at San Francisco in week 15, and then at the Jets. Seattle goes to Cincinnati next Sunday. Kelly out of the gun on 3rd and 9. Fires over the middle and knocked down. Reaching over is Dwayne Harper to break up what would have been a Flip Johnson reception.
Oh, we've seen some superb corner play tonight on the part of Kirby Jackson and Odoms for Buffalo, and Dwayne Harper with another great play. He's made a couple tonight also.
And Patrick Hunter has been there.
Hunter.
We have seen some excellent play in the secondary. But look at the timing that time by Harper. Boy, he reads the break by Johnson, and then, boy, he couldn't have timed it any better.
Stays away from the interference.
Kidd to kick. At the 12-yard line, Hollis, and he pays the price, really does, as he gets out to the 19. Jamie Mueller down to make the stop at the 19-yard line with 11:18, and Mueller pays the price as well.
Jamie Mueller is dangerous on special teams. Got his leg underneath him and was hammered backwards, and he did walk off the field, but it was a vicious twist. And they're looking at Jamie Mueller's left knee.
Seattle has the ball at its own 20. 11:18 to play. Buffalo ahead by 6. Craig swings it to John L. Williams, and he is tackled out of the 24-yard line by Scott Radisek, a gain of about 4.
If you're a little squeamish, cast an eye another direction for a minute here, but we're going to take this chance to show you what happened to Jamie Mueller. Now here's Mueller right there at 30. Now watch his left leg as it gets pinned clear underneath him, and he is bent right over backwards, and of course that left leg is still pinned. He walked off by himself, and we can only hope that he's a flexible young man, because he was forced to prove it there.
2nd and 6 from the 24-yard line, and here's Warner, and Warner gets it out to the 31, and that's a first down for the Seahawks. Seattle, 10 points tonight early on. Shut down since. Bills got 10 in the second quarter. 2 Norwood field goals in the third as Mueller continues to walk it off.
Well, he's lucky. I mean, now you also don't assume right now that he's fine. A lot of times you'll be injured and your leg just goes numb, and it's a day or two later until you're aware of how badly you've been injured.
Muscles are stretched out. You're warm. You can do a lot of things in that condition. A little later, it really tells.
First and 10 from the 31-yard line, and that's John L. Williams. Stopped by Leonard Smith out at the 36. That's a 5-yard gain, and it'll be 2nd and 5.
Good move by John L. Face to the sidelines. Could have easily just stepped out of bounds and not taken the big hit. Instead tries to spin back to the inside and pick up a couple more yards for his club. That's the kind of move you'd expect to see from a player whose team is 8-4. Sometimes on a team that's 4-8, you don't see that kind of effort.
2nd and 5 from the 36. Craig for Blades, and he can't hold it at the 45-yard line. Good tight coverage by Kirby Jackson on the play. 3rd and 5 now.
Been that way all night. It was a good read by Craig. He read the blitz and he changed the play at the line of scrimmage. He knew he was getting individual coverage. He knew the Blades was going to be all alone on Jackson. He changed the play, and it was just fine coverage again by Kirby Jackson.
Yeah, the Blades should have caught it as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, Craig delivered a good ball.
3rd and 5. Blades and Largent both go to the left. Largent has not caught a pass since the 3rd play of the game. His only reception of the night. Craig looking to the right and nearly has it intercepted. It was knocked down by Leonard Smith. Intended for Jeff Chadwick.
That time he just changed the coverage. You give Craig a different look. You get double coverage out on the wide receiver.
The passing game of Seattle does not appear to be mystifying the pass defense of the Buffalo Bills. These guys are covering the Seattle receivers like they're being shown the play in advance.
Like they're in the huddle. They seem to know exactly where it's going.
Ruben Rodriguez. Rush was on. He gets it away. It's a line drive end over end. Taken at the 26-yard line. Mickey Sutton. And a good run back for Sutton as he takes it into Seattle territory and tackled at the 48-yard line by Darren Como. And here's a guy they plucked off the waiver wire. Released by Green Bay.
Mickey Sutton doing it all tonight. Fine all-around game.
Our boxing expert.
Here are a couple of early season combatants. Tom Bresnahan on the left, Nick Nicolau on the right, and as sometimes assistant coaches are prone to do, they got in a little skirmish. Bresnahan is the offensive line coach and a guy really responsible for a lot of the rejuvenation of the Bills running attack.
Here's Kelly on first down from the 48, and somehow, some way, he's able to fire it in between the defenders and into the arms of Keith McKellar. And we have an injured Seahawk back at the 43-yard line. And that is Tony Woods, the outside linebacker.
I think he twisted his leg somehow, trying to dance around the pile. They immediately start to take a look at the left knee. There he is, number 57. Ooh, and he catches his left knee right there. He throws it out in front and runs it up against Kent Hull, the Buffalo center. A lot of times that causes a hyperextension of your knee. It gets knocked backwards a little bit while your foot's planted. Tony Woods, #1 draft choice to the Seahawks back in '87. Another one of their fine young players, only a third-year guy out of Pitt. And it looks like he's wounded but not
hopefully not too seriously as he's walking off, able to put weight on his legs.
Meanwhile, a great play by McKellar, the tight end, who was very high on in Buffalo, a 9th-round draft pick in '87, and he gets it inside Seattle's 30-yard line. Good catch and a good effort in running the football for the big man, 6'4", 245-pounder. That's standard now for tight ends.
Joe Kane comes into the game for the moment, replacing the injured Woods. There are the numbers on Kelly. Not too pretty, but he has the lead. And he has a 1st and 10 at the 29-yard line. And it's Larry Kinnebrew taking it to the 25 for a gain of about 4. And we have 8 minutes to play. A reminder, Sunday on ABC Sports, a special tennis event. 4 top American stars play not only to win money, but to keep from losing it. Agassi, Connors, Chang, and Gilbert in the ITT Stakes match Sunday, 4 Eastern, 3 Central, and Pacific. Tennis for you this Sunday here on ABC.
That's what we need. I think we ought to take that concept into all sports. The loser's got to come up with some cash.
There's Tony Woods back in the ball game.
2nd down and 6 at the 25-yard line. Thurman Thomas finds no opening that time, wrapped up by Jacob Green and Jeff Bryant, among others. With 7:20 now remaining.
Well, the way Seattle has been moving the ball offensively, especially here in the second half, even a field goal by Buffalo at this point in time looks huge, as it would give Buffalo a 9-point lead, and Chuck Knox knows it.
And of course, Jim Kelly aware of that too. He may well put the ball up in the air, but he'll be very careful with it. He won't try to force anything.
And he'll try to avoid the sack at all costs too.
On 3rd and 6, Thomas escapes one man, but that's all. Stopped at the 30-yard line by Jefferson after the play was in effect stopped by Jacob Green. And that's 1 out of 11 on 3rd down for Buffalo tonight.
Might as well have been a sack. Again, a 3rd down play that loses yardage, and Buffalo this time returning the favor, although they won't force quite as long a field goal. There is Jacob Green. Slows down. Thomas doesn't make the tackle. Jefferson comes in and wipes it up.
48-yard attempt for Norwood, trying to give Buffalo a 9-point edge. And he's wide this time.
Seahawks are still alive.
And they take over to the line of scrimmage, and that's out over the 30-yard line.
And Chuck Knox is a man who's been around a long time. 5 years with the Rams, 5 more with Buffalo. Now in his 7th with Seattle. He has never had a 5-game losing streak, but he's on the edge right now.
Chuck Knox, one of the game's great coaches. You know, his philosophy is simple. Run the ball, play it close to the vest offensively. Don't put your defense in a compromising position, and it's paid off, as that graphic shows you. When you play that style of football, you're not prone to lose very often.
From the 30-yard line on 1st down, Craig, and the catch is made on the run by Warner. Great pass, and Warner, skirting the sidelines, takes it out to the 49-yard line.
You know, the last couple of plays we've seen by Dave Craig are kind of the essence of his entire career in the league. Taking a sack on a critical 3rd down that forces your team out of field goal range, and yet at the same time capable of throwing just brilliant passes like that sideline toss to Kurt Warner. I mean, that is as beautiful a pass as you will ever see.
Well, the last time we saw Craig on a Monday night, he was as beautiful as a quarterback gets. 5 touchdown passes against the Raiders last year. From the 49, looking for Largent. And Steve can't get there, and again, he was covered like that proverbial blanket by Kirby Jackson.
For Jackson, this is a good way to get to Honolulu. He has had an all-pro night. Not only covering Steve Largent, but also taking on Brian Blades, and this is picture perfect once again, and you force Largent outside You're just right on the fringe of the rules, but you force Largent outside where he has no path through the ball and avoid the flag.
My question is this, Frank. Who in the Seattle passing attack thinks that Steve Largent is going to run by Kirby Jackson on a fly pattern? Steve Largent is not that type of receiver. He doesn't have that kind of speed. That's a pattern that's not going to work.
2nd and 10. And Craig lofting it for Williams. He's inside the 20. He's inside the 10. John L. Williams, touchdown. Same pass he had just thrown to Warner.
The same touch, chased out of the pocket, and it's not that easy. Dave Craig scrambling away from the pass rushing pressure, and to put this right in stride with Williams, well, it looks awfully simple, but it is awfully difficult.
Boy, look at the block downfield by Brian Blades. He makes the block on Kelso that allows Williams to cut back to the middle.
Longest play of the season for Seattle. Extra point by Johnson gives the Hawks the lead again.
Dave Craig fighting for time. Look how he buys it. Sends John L. Williams downfield, points him out. And now watch at the conclusion of this play. When Williams will make his cut to our right here comes Brian Blades, knocks Kelso out of the way, and the rest is John L. And right now, Marv Levy has to be sick to his stomach.
Well, again, Bruce Smith forcing breakout. And right on stride. I mean, he did everything to catch the ball for Williams. And a great look. Good work, guys, on the cameras. There's the block by Blades. Williams holding it together, getting it in the end zone.
How does Williams keep from going out of bounds there at about the 3 or 4 yard line? I mean, what body control by John L. being able to stay in bound. I mean, this is a big man, 230 pounds. He's got some momentum headed towards that sideline marker, and yet he's able to stay in bounds and lunge into the end zone.
So 2 big plays tonight for Seattle after they'd gone 3/4 of the season without having a play cover more than 32 yards.
Saw Reggie McKenzie there in that last shot. Former great guard for both of these clubs, for both Buffalo and Seattle.
Johnson puts it in the air.
Little adrenaline in that.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say. Looked like that was kicked in Denver. 4 kickoffs tonight and 4 touchbacks for Norm Johnson.
There's Big Reggie cheering the crowd on. Of course, great lead blocker for O.J. Simpson. He and Joe DeLamalure forming one of the game's great guard tandems, and then finished his career here for Chuck Knox in Seattle. And, of course, a former partner of mine at Michigan. We played side by side on a pretty good offensive line.
Well, I would have to say so.
Buffalo at the 20.
And for your info, Frank, we lost to USC in the Rose Bowl.
I wasn't going to bring that up either.
Reed makes the catch. Great spin move. That's the first down, and a 16-yard pickup out to the 36-yard line. Andre Reed run out by Eugene Robinson. And again, let's go back to the fact Buffalo has not been shut out in the 4th quarter of a game in the last 23 games. There's a 0 up there right now, and they're down by a point.
And boy, you got to look back to that missed field goal that would have given Buffalo a 9-point lead, and Norwood pushed it wide to the right.
That,
this
by the way,
team, Al, with a lot of confidence, though.
At the 36-yard line, here's Thomas, and let's not let the moment pass without acknowledging Andre Reed with that catch now in front of Dubinion and the all-time leading receiver in the history of the Buffalo Bills.
And he's put it together in 5 years. 71 last year when he really emerged as a top-flight receiver, went to the Pro Bowl, and just having a spectacular year now.
Well, it's really indicative of how the game's changed. The reliance so much more today on the passing game. The rules have been changed defensively to make it easier to get open.
2nd and 7. Kelly throws it over the middle to the tight end, McKellar, and he is wrestled down at the 46-yard line, and that's very close to a first down. You see the marker right there at the bottom of the screen, and they may have to measure it. It's that close.
Surge took him back inside the 45, but he was out for what appeared to be first down yardage.
Somebody forgot to tell McKellar that he's supposed to go down when somebody hits him. He's got 3 Seahawks tugging on him, trying to get him down, and he won't go.
Como, Wyman, and M.L. Johnson were all there. Well, that's your prototypical tight end. And a first down for Buffalo. And looking ahead, they have all of their timeouts remaining. 4:27 to go.
There's Wyman. In comes M.L. Johnson. Aaron Como. And still McKellar stays. He won't go down. You like to see it. You like to see it.
First and 10 at the 46. Kelly to the safety valve. That's Kinnebrew. And Kinnebrew keeps fighting his way, loses the ball. It's loose at the 49-yard line. Seahawks think they have it.
No call yet.
Nothing yet.
Jim Kelly thinks Seattle has it, and he's wrong.
Buffalo has it.
Oh, now look at Kelly trying to change his mind. Did you see Kelly looking over at his own bench, kind of pointing the other way?
Jim Richer is the guy who comes up with the football.
Now, there's still some confusion here now. We haven't seen a celebration yet.
Now we get a wild celebration on the part of the Seahawks.
Let's get the
Still
word
nothing official
from Haggerty. He's going to tell us.
We hope.
Yep.
Oh, first down.
It is Seattle's ball.
Kinnebrew trying to pick up extra yardage. That's Jeff Bryant.
There's the ball. It's on the field. The ball is underneath Jeff Bryant.
Boy, does it attract a crowd.
Well, there was initially a signal that it belonged to Buffalo, but that was reversed. There's the ball down.
M.L. Johnson is the guy who's on top of it eventually. There he is, cradling it. Richer wrestles it away from him, but after Johnson had recovered it. And Seattle has it at the 49-yard line with a tick under 4 minutes to play. And Warner skirting to the outside. And Warner has a first down to the 37-yard line. And now Seattle's put Buffalo in a position where the Bills are going to eventually have to take their timeouts on defense. Clock running, 3:33 to play.
Well, you're not going to take your timeouts when they run one play and pick up another first down. They're going to have to see some light at the end of the tunnel. They're going to have to stop them defensively. You know, this is why we go ahead and play the games, isn't it? You'd think Buffalo would have walked away with it.
Looked that way. And Seattle taking as much time off the clock as they can. John L. Williams. Now Buffalo has to take its timeout. It's first of 3. Meanwhile, Largent, if you joined us late, has not scored a touchdown tonight. He still has 99 career touchdown receptions, but he does have a point. On an errant snap, he's able to pick it up, and this was worth 1.
With an assist from the kicker, Norm Johnson, when the ball was snapped low. Largent and Johnson both realized and were in perfect harmony on it. Johnson didn't kick through it, missed the kick. Largent, realizing that Johnson wasn't going to, picked it up and got it in for the conversion.
Well, this is the type of situation now, guys, where Buffalo has got to assume that Seattle's going to take the ball, keep it on the ground, use the clock. And this is where a play-action pass has a high degree of success. And that play-action pass, if we lived in a very fairy tale world, would be thrown to Steve Largent. Of course, the people in Buffalo, I don't think, are all that interested in fairy tale endings.
That would be a grim ending.
No, they like the fairy tale endings more reminiscent of when Jim Kelly ran it in against Miami earlier this year on the last play of the game. That's their version of a fairy tale.
2nd and 10. It is Warner with some room as he cuts it back, and he takes it to the 25, and that's a first down. Finally stopped by Leonard Smith as Warner reverses his direction, finds the open space to the right, and picks up another first down.
2 major efforts by Warner. A moment ago, slashing off the left side. This time he tries to go there again. Nothing happening. It's all stacked up. He brings it back to the right, spins away from Smirlis, number 76. And another first down.
And despite that first down, Buffalo is forced to spend another timeout, and they're now down to 1. Meanwhile, one other little footnote on that Largent play we just showed you where he ran it in. This is a 1-point game. Largent running that extra point in is the difference in the game right now.
Sure is. Sure is.
17-16 is our score. 2:47 to play, and tonight on Nightline, should there be a system to decide who is or which is the top college football team in the nation? Is it time for a national playoff? That's the subject matter tonight on Nightline, following your late local news. Oh boy, what are those shirts worth?
And there's Richie Westline. The guy has given out more autographs tonight than any of us. Richie working the end zone. Next week he'll have his own t-shirt.
I don't doubt it. Here's Warner picking up 2, taking it to the 23, and Buffalo spends its final timeout. So the clock will stop once more at the 2-minute warning. Buffalo is out of timeouts. 2:40 to play.
I guess most of our viewers didn't recognize Richie without his dog mask on. It's Richie that pulls the duty and works the dog pound. Sam Weish's favorite place.
Yeah. Might be after yesterday. Weiss likes Cleveland now. 21-0 Cincinnati. Well, Levy can hardly believe it. I mean, 4 weeks ago they go into Atlanta to play the Falcons and get beat at the end 30-28. 2 weeks ago they go into New England, heavy favorites in that game, and wind up losing 33-24. Here they come into Seattle and on the short end again.
And Allie has to be thinking back last year when they clinched at the division, the AFC Eastern Division. After 12 games, they had 4 games remaining. 3 of them are on the road. They lost all 3 of them. You really have to admire Chuck Knox, though, the way he's handled this disaster in Seattle, which is what it's been this year. He hasn't lost his cool, hasn't lashed out at his players or the fans. It's been classic.
2nd and 8. Warner, and he wants to stay in bounds, and he just does barely. Stays in bounds as he takes it to the 16-yard line. He's short of the first down by a yard, and that will take us to the 2-minute warning. Bentley gets credit for the tackle.
Boy, this is a team that really hasn't had a great deal of success this season running the football, and yet now when they have to, they're just ramming it right down the throat of the Buffalo Bills. I think this is a situation where the absence of Conlon, the absence of Bennett, right now it's not doing Buffalo any favors.
They'll look for the first down on 3rd and 1 when we come back after the 2-minute warning. Look at the vote tally. Best game of the 70s. The majority of you favoring Oakland against Buffalo back in '74. And tonight, Buffalo live, down by a point. 2 minutes to go. It's as simple as this. 3rd and 1. Seattle gets the first down here. They can run the clock out. And they come in a tight formation with Warner the tailback, and on 3rd and 1 it's Kurt Warner picking up the first down, and that will write an end to this one at the 12-yard line. Buffalo cannot stop the clock.
Dan touched on it a while ago. The 4-8 ball club, you like to see it in this game. Not that you want to see Buffalo go down, but at 4-8, these guys have played like they were contending for the division.
Well, what the crowd would really love here, but there's no way you can do it, I don't imagine, is throw the ball to Largent.
No, I think Chuck Knox thinks records are wonderful, but he's more concerned with his one-loss record than he is with Steve Largent's record.
They set Largent up. That's Largent as the safety valve at the 22.
No, they're not going to do anything with this ball other than sit on it. Fred Smerlas comes across and makes contact.
Meanwhile, did Kurt Warner and the running game have it when they needed it? Before this drive,
Encroachment. Defense.
Before this drive, Warner tonight had picked up 21 yards on 11 carries. And on this money drive, 36 yards on 5 carries.
Big night for Kelly. And of course, he's a Travelers Man of the Year for Buffalo. And he's done so many great things for that community. Jim Kelly's In Zone Club, the Kelly for Kids program. He's quite a man. He is a fiery one. He is a Travelers Man. And of course, the league's Travelers Man will be announced at the Super Bowl.
See, one thing Fred Smerlas did there by coming across and taking that penalty was stopping the clock.
Now, looking at the standings in the AFC East right now, Buffalo will lead Miami by a game, but there's Ken Behring, the Seattle owner, congratulating Chuck Knox. There it is. In effect, though, Buffalo has a larger advantage because they have beaten Miami twice. So were they to finish with the same record, Buffalo would win the East. So it's pretty much, it's like having a 2-game advantage over the Dolphins, in effect, with 3 weeks to go.
But again, Buffalo losing 3 of their 4 last year. Home for New Orleans, then they're at San Francisco, and then at the Jets.
This will be the final play of the game, and wouldn't you know it, for the first time in 24 games, Buffalo does not score a point in the 4th quarter. They had a chance to tie the NFL record and couldn't. And that 0 on the board spells a 0 for the night for the Buffalo Bills.
So the Bills and their road woes continue. They will not be known when the season is over as road warriors. It's road woes more than anything else.
10 weeks, they've won 6, lost 4. They won 6 at home, and they've lost 4 on the road.
Well, gentlemen, we shall